Today, I'm going to host my LinkedIn Leads training for the very, very first time, but also for the last time this year. And I'm super excited about it. We have approximately 250 people that have registered for it. And I'll make sure I add the link so that you can register for it too, underneath or above this video, depending on where you're watching this. But what I wanted to cover here today is actually the 6 most common questions that I get, because they are very broad. So I will try to cover them, step by step, and some of them can like a little bit merge into each other. If this is the first time that you see me or hear me, my name is Josephine Warner, and I'm a former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and business growth strategist. And I use LinkedIn as my main platform. And I also have a program called the LinkedIn Breakthrough Program, where I teach my own strategies, the same system that I'm using myself to generate leads, to generate or to attract clients. And I'm actually going to use one of my most recent clients because he himself said, I'm actually the poster boy for confirming that this strategy actually works. So let's kick off with the very, very first question. And the first question is, how the heck do I get engagement on my posts? And this is for you who's already posting and might have been posting for a while, and you've seen that the impressions on your posts have like taken a complete nosedive, and maybe it's even kind of like holding you back who don't post, thinking in terms of, well, everyone says that the reach is so low, and why should I then even do it? And when you post and you see that there are like not five, but 50 impressions, 100 impressions, and before you had thousands and thousands of impressions, likes, comments, they are, to be honest, only vanity metrics. They don't mean anything. You can have a post go viral and it doesn't turn into leads and clients. So instead of focusing on the number of impressions that you get on a post, even though I know it's really flattering, and even though I know it's really fun and interesting, when you do get those likes and comments, you're thinking like, oh my God, this is really working. But is it really working? If you don't go to get any leads, if you don't get any clients, assuming that you are on LinkedIn to get leads and clients, then it's not really working. So what do you do then instead? Well, it's actually connected to the connections that you have, the relationships that you have built. And when I hear the question often like, oh, I don't have an engagement on my post, the first counter question I then ask is, okay, so how often are you out there commenting on other people's posts? And often the answer to that question is very seldom. So start by giving. So comment on other people's posts, engage in other people's posts, send a DM to someone. Because when you send DMs to people, the probability that your post will actually land in their feed, that when they are on LinkedIn, is actually higher. So by start being a person that you actually want to get in your own feed, or sorry, not your feed, but in your own content, in your own posts, start by being that person will actually increase the probability of other people actually commenting on your stuff too. But also remember that the number of likes, the number of comments you get have no relation to the number of views or the number of impressions that you have. So let's stop worrying about the likes and comments that we actually get, because here's the thing. People will see what it is that you're doing. They might not reach out the first time you post, or the second time you post, or the third time you post, but they might reach out eventually. For some, it takes a little bit longer than for others. So I also got the question from Muhammad, like, what is the question? The question was, what are some more uncommon, innovative uses of LinkedIn, and where do I find stories and examples of that? And I think that often we'll look to the larger accounts, like what are they doing now? How do they write their posts? What do they do? What do they post? Are they using AI to generate their pictures? Like, so instead of looking at them, how they are doing it, try to find your own way of doing things. And it also goes into the next question that I have: what works best? Does article works best, or does do post work best? It's actually neither nor. You do need a combination of different types of content, different types of touch points that people are actually, so that people actually see your stuff now today. So Angela says here, to get, we must first give. And that is so true. We can't just, expect to get if we don't give first. So the more innovative ways and the ways that we are using this, because I am not sending any cold pitch DMs. I'm not sending any DMs saying, hey, do you want to join my program, or shouldn't you join my latest workshop? Unless someone has already raised their hand to say, I want to be in your workshop, or I want to be in your training. Then I reach out to them, thank them for being there, asking them, how was it? Do you have any open questions? Do you want to take the next step? That is the way that you can use the direct messages. If you start pitching immediately, assuming that someone has a problem, that will most likely just turn them off. So if we go back to the question about the innovative ways of using LinkedIn, be the person that you like. How do you want to be sold to? Like, what do you like? Because if you create content that you really like yourself, like me here being live, for example, is something that I would have been so afraid of before. And now we have Muhammad here. Hi, Muhammad. So glad to have you here. And thank you for your question earlier. So the question was, how can I be a little bit more innovative? So use the different types of content and mix and match. Don't try to do it all, because if you think you want to do picture posts, carousel posts, text only posts, you want to go live, you want to do events, you want to do newsletters, you want to do articles, then you will be so overwhelmed by that, right? Use a couple of them. And when you go live, like here, for example, I can download this now and I can turn that into a clip, and I can reuse that, repurpose that across all the different platforms that I'm on. So pick one, a couple of types of content that you prefer doing, you like, and do those. And what I also see often is that some posts are like novels, like all the time novels, and they're really, really, really deep. And it takes a lot of effort for the people to, first of all, read the whole post and then write a valuable comment to it. Because when your posts are too long, that might probably make people a little bit insecure. What if I miss something? What if I tried to add a comment here and they already said it? Will that make me look stupid? So make it easy for people to comment on your stuff, make it easy for people to read your stuff, make it easy for people to consume your content. And some people will be more video consumers, some people will be more text consumers. I prefer reading to listening to a voice message, for example, except if it's a podcast. But then I choose to listen to that podcast, right? So use different types of content. So Angela is here too, my business partner, and she says, so true, and people consume content differently. Some take in the information reading, and some watching, and some listening. So use the different types of content that you can actually do. So regarding what works best, posts or articles or newsletters, I am not a huge fan of the articles themselves. I prefer a newsletter. From the look of it, they look identical. The difference between an article and a newsletter is that the newsletter also lands in your subscribers' inbox. We have our clients like Lisa, like Annika, like Araceli, for example. They have gotten 1,000 subscribers on their LinkedIn newsletters within a heartbeat. And with a heartbeat, I mean within 24 to 48 hours. That is amazing. Can you imagine the additional touch point that you have where you actually land in the inbox of the people? You're not getting access to their inbox emails. It's from a social media perspective, it's actually an additional piece of content. So use it as such, and use the LinkedIn newsletters regularly. Don't just set it up and then never do it again. You need to do it regularly. So the simplest way of finding our ideal client on LinkedIn, that is probably the most common question I get. Like, how the heck do I find my ideal clients on LinkedIn? The thing is that most people on LinkedIn are observers. Less than 2% are actually posting content regularly on LinkedIn, which makes it a great platform to be on from a from a content creator perspective, because there is very little competition. And if you think that your feed is like completely full of content on LinkedIn, it's not. It's actually a deficit of content. So by starting to post regularly, you will be able to connect with people. Sorry, I got a chat here, trying to quit that at the same time. Okay, so you will be able to connect with people to no, I lost. Yeah, so because you have most of the people on LinkedIn are observers, or some people call them lurkers, right? So what do you do then? If, let's say, you're a leadership coach, or you are a relationship coach, or maybe you are I don't know, you help parents. People might not, raise their hands on LinkedIn and say, hey, I have troubles in my marriage, or hey, I want to change jobs, or hey, we need some parental advice here. You need to create content that really attracts them. And then we go back to the whole piece about engagement. You need to find your supporters on LinkedIn that actually support your content, even though they might not be your ideal client, because those supporters, they will help you to get more eyes on your content. That does not mean engagement pods, right? And engagement pods is something that it's not really good for your business, because that creates a buzz, and people, you might think that your content is actually resonating with people when it's not. It's just your engagement pod buddies who are liking and commenting, and then you wonder why it's not working, right? But find those authentic engagers, and also in your turn engage in content that you find interesting, even if you don't think, oh, I'm going to buy, or I'm going to invest in this person's content immediately. Maybe that person has some kind of complementary offer to you. So that let's say you're a courage coach, for example, or you help people with their confidence, and then they might be in corporate, they might want to become entrepreneurs, but they're not yet ready to take the step. Then you should start commenting on people who help people to become entrepreneurs, because the middle step there, that's where you can shine, right? And then we have a question that I always get, especially after I have shared my framework. It's like, oh, this sounds like a lot. How much time do I really need to invest on LinkedIn? And I want you to remember that if you're a business owner and you have a service-based business, for example, you need to think of being on LinkedIn as your lead generation efforts. You won't get any leads if you don't put in the effort, right? The question is, what are you doing when you're spending time on LinkedIn? Are you live like I'm now? Are you sharing your message? Are you just scrolling, or are you really actively there and productive there? Are you sharing live with someone else? Are you going live with someone else? Like, how do you spend your time on LinkedIn? The process that we are following is to spend around 1 hour when you post, maybe follow up in the afternoon for 30 minutes, depending on the day that you have, and do that every day that you post. Those days when you don't post, to be there and just engage, unless you want to post 5 times per day. But most people that I work with, they don't do that. They post 3 times per week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example. And that works really well for them. So depending on how you have set up your strategy, it is actually the time that you get to spend more productive time on LinkedIn when you are here. So to break it down, I spend 1.5 hours when I'm really active on LinkedIn. Can I spend more? Absolutely. Do I sometimes just scroll? Yes, I do that too. But most of the time, I'm actually like really productive, and I have marked the people that I want to comment on. I go directly into their feeds so that I comment on that. And that's it, right? One question I also always get is, should I invest in Sales Navigator, or should I invest in LinkedIn Premium? And if we start with the LinkedIn Premium, the main advantage that I find, or the main advantages that I find from LinkedIn Premium, is that when you send a connection request to someone, you can, for all of the messages, you can actually send, for all of the connection requests, you can send a personal message if you want to. You can also see everyone who has checked out your profile so you can follow up with those people. That is, in my view, the main advantage of the premium. That's, the link that you can have underneath your name that they should go to your homepage or that they should book a meeting. Does that link really work? I haven't seen any evidence of that. I don't know if it's working for any other people, but that's how it is. Regarding Sales Navigator, I think Sales Navigator is amazing if you work in a larger sales organization and you really want to target sales teams or HR teams or whatever, logistic teams, whatever types of teams that you want to target, or large organizations. I think that is can be a great tool for that. And you can really do personas and you can do leads lists and things like that. But I think for us smaller entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, it's a little bit too big and it rather makes everyone confused and we focus on the wrong things. So instead of having a proper strategy in place first, people often start with Sales Navigator. And that would be just like putting a band-aid on on a huge surgery wound, which is also infected, right? Having Sales Navigator is not going to heal the root cause. You need a proper strategy first. You need to understand, who am I here for? Why am I even here? Do people understand why I'm here and what exactly it is that I'm doing? And then start with those things first, start getting some traction. And then if you find that you need to increase the outreach or you want to do more, then you can absolutely invest in Sales Navigator. And then the last question. The last question is, what should I post so that to not be too personal or to not overshare? And I think that question often comes from fear from posting in general. And usually I get that question from people who are not posting at all because they are so afraid of being judged on social media that they are, instead of posting anything, they think the fear is that I don't want to be too personal, I don't want to overshare. I would say just start by commenting, start by liking, start by adding, smart comments to other people's posts. And then you can start creating one post, maybe 2 posts per week on a topic that you find really interesting. And if that's about your business, then start doing that. Maybe you attended a great conference, start posting about that. Don't over tag people because that might just make them annoyed. And if you over tag people and they don't react to it, it sends a signal to LinkedIn that you're actually trying to spam people. So make sure that you start share about what it is that you find interesting. And then the more things you do that, you will start getting questions. And then when you get questions or you see questions that other people are getting and you know the answers to those questions, you can create a post about that. And then we go back to the whole thing. Yeah, but how do I then stand out? I don't want to sound like everyone else. Well, in the beginning, I think we do sound a little bit like everyone else until we have found our own style. And then to take it from there. I don't want you to overthink this. This is so easy to overthink. And the only way to actually be braver, to start doing these things, is to just get out there. Just do it. When I went live for the first times, I had a partner by my side. I asked people, do you want to be live with me? And then we did that. I would have found it really weird to sit here like I do now, talking into the camera. And I do have a couple of people here with me, for example, Angela, who then adds a comment and says, reusing content is so understated. Yeah, because we think we have to bring out new content all the time, that people have already seen it and heard it, and they might have, but they need to hear it and see it over and over and over again, so that the penny then finally drops. So I think that was actually it for me today. I'm going to keep this fairly short because I'm preparing myself for tonight. Tonight is my night. It's 5 o'clock today. I'm going to do my LinkedIn leads training for the very first time. And it's also going to be the last free training that I do for this year. Free LinkedIn training that I do for this year. So I'm super excited about that. And Angela ends with, just dare to be you. And I think that is so good. We can't be someone else. We just can be ourselves. So I'll add the link to the LinkedIn Leads training. If you haven't registered already, make sure you do so now. because tomorrow I'm going to turn it into a wait list, so you can't join then. So make sure you join us now. Okay, thank you so much for being here with me, and hope to see you soon. Bye. Bye-bye.